Built Different podcast, episode number 7. We're going to name it Question the Host. We have a very, very special guest, and I'm excited to announce this person. I've known them for some time, and it's going to be a lot of fun hearing some questions from her. So, this is my wife, the love of my life, Tina Harrison.
Morning. This Retivia Homes and Construction podcast number 7.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you want me to say it? Question the host, meaning you're taking over and your question. I'm on the other side of the studio this morning, and I'm the one that's getting questioned. So we're excited. We also have in the hizzle Kevin Pan.
Hey guys.
And so go ahead. You have some questions for me, huh?
Okay.
I thought you questioned me enough before I left the house, asking me where I was going last night.
Never enough questions. Okay. First question. What made you decide to go into construction?
That's a pretty easy decision, actually, because my family had been in the industry since way back, as you know. You grew up, you spent a lot of time at the house in our 20s and saw my dad handling a lot of situations and how he handled building new construction houses, how he worked with customers, how after by the time I was 15, he was always talking about, I can go in and have a cup of coffee with anyone I've ever done business with. And I was on job sites right at 14. We actually were supposed to move to Florida, and the deal on the house fell through. And my cousin owned a construction company. My dad owned a construction company. My uncle owned a construction company. Well, my cousin was a framer, and he invited me. He was doing I think it was like a 87 condo project in Milford, New Hampshire, and I started framing at that point. So, as you know, I've been doing it a long time, but
Yeah.
it was predestined, I believe. I think, if I'm really going to go down to the root of it, it was probably God. So, but yeah, it is something my family does. It's just in our blood, and that's what we do.
It's an awesome trade. I love that you do it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Been very successful, and I love it.
Yeah, we've had some success. I mean, I if I'm gonna talk completely candid, which I always try to, is we've had our ups and downs. It's like any other industry,
We have.
You have ebbs and flows, and I watched my father go through the late '80s and everything that went along with that. He had a business partner that had never missed a payment on a big project he was doing down at the Cape. Never missed one payment, had paid his deposit, everything. And because so many other projects had fallen apart in the United States and in Massachusetts, the bank, in every loan that a bank writes, there's a little caveat that says, for whatever reason, they can just take back the property. And the reason why they took this property back from my father's partner, he wasn't involved in this particular project, but was because every other loan that the bank had, or most of the loans they had, were failing and falling apart, and people weren't making the payments, and they could just up and take it. And my dad slowed down. I remember he had 3 properties in Brookline, New Hampshire, that were very slow. He had built a road and was building those 3 houses, and they were really slow to sell. And I watched how he handled it and how he stayed diligent, worked hard.
Very hard. He was a hard worker, like
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, no, he was a very hard worker, but he stayed diligent. He did take a back seat on building for a little bit, but in the early '90s, he was back at it, crushing it. By I think it was '96, he did a 23 lot subdivision up in Milford, New Hampshire, and it had been on the market for like 3 years, and they had started multiple. In Milford, New Hampshire, it's known for granite. So there was a few quarries that were dug on the property, and anyone who builds knows granite can really mess up the building process, especially if there's no water and sewer in the area, and you got to have septics. And he had relied on the Lord on this particular project and found septics for every lot and built it out. And it was so fun to watch and be a part of. Once again, I framed quite a few of the houses in
Is
there.
that where he named one of the streets after your mom, Helene?
Yes,
I
he
love
did.
that.
Yeah, Helene Drive in Milford.
Yes,
Yeah,
beautiful couple.
yeah.
Good people. Okay, next question. What are some of the earliest memories in construction with your dad you had?
Um. Well, I do remember the so sometimes you remember the bad over the good. But there was a lot of great stuff. But this one thing I remember is every winter when there was a snowstorm, I was the guy that, or one of the guys, because my brother did quite a bit of it too, that would go and dig out the foundations. So you have 24 by 40 foundation for a house, all full of 18 inches of snow, and you got to shovel it all out. You can't, and now you're throwing it over 8-foot walls.
Wow.
It would suck, but it's kind of something that I remember. And you gotta do your time and show a work ethic, and he was making sure of that, I believe, when he was given those tasks out. And
Such a good role model he
and and
was.
and the biggest, well, there's a couple few things that I like to hang my hat on as something that's very important as a contractor slash business owner is if you stick to it and you have an ethic of work,
Mm,
and you really can't fail. And well, anybody can fail at anything, but also you got to have something else to rely on, which I have my wife and my family, but um God's a huge part of it as well. And he's just gotten, us through a lot of things, my father included, and to watch that happen and to know that no matter what turns up, if you keep pushing, you know,
you
pretty
guys
good.
are fighters, that's for sure. Hard
Yeah.
workers. Okay, next question. What were some of the early mistakes you made when you started?
Early mistakes. Are you talking about the mistakes I made last week, or are you talking about the? So,
Overall, if one stands
so
out
let
in
me think.
construction.
You know what? I hate to say it's a mistake because honestly, every single thing that doesn't happen exactly the way I expect it to, I guess you could call it a mistake, but it's also a major opportunity to learn. And one of the
Mm,
things that I'm thinking of is we had that recession in 18, 19, 20. No, I'm sorry, 8, 9, and 10, 2008, 9, and 10. And I kept building. I bought a few houses through that, and I felt like I got great deals on the land and the properties. So I thought that I could, like, it wasn't going to be an issue, but I ended up on a couple of them having to bring money to closings to close out the projects. And I learned a lot that yes, steady work ethic is huge, but you got to keep an eye on what's going on for a bunch of different reasons. I mean, first step in construction, you got to know what the weather's going to be the next day or a couple
oh
days in
yeah, that can
advance.
definitely hold up
So
nice.
that's something in construction. But you also have to watch the forecast of what's going on in markets and stuff. And I believe God brings you through everything, and He has. And I've never claimed bankruptcy. My father never claimed bankruptcy. We've made it through everything. But um, it I I'm gonna refer to the Bible again. I keep talking about this, but it says the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. And so how do you fear the Lord? You get into his word, you learn about him, you see how he handles stuff. And he had a pretty good grasp on what was going on with the government in every town he was going into. And I believe that you have to kind of keep an eye on that stuff. And not that you're going to lose faith, but you got to be paying attention because you lose money if you don't. I mean, I've had opportunities in the stock market that I waited on for too long and I could have made more money. I had opportunities to sell stuff and waited too long and didn't do it and wasn't paying attention, if you will. Properties that I can remember putting in offers late on things that I know if I had gotten it for the price it sold for, I could have really taken advantage. But with all that, it's a good learning experience.
Mm.
But most importantly, one is jumping on stuff quick. And two is when you look back, it's only for a minute and to learn, and then it's forward again. You have to
Definitely.
put the blinders on and, you know.
Yes. Okay. Next question. What were some crazy customer interactions you've had?
You don't want to know those. You really want to know that? Ken, should I tell him?
Yeah.
Not all day.
At least 5 years ago, nothing recent.
So let me think. That's a good question
We can go
because
back to it. Crazy or funny.
Tina, do you remember anything John might have told you?
Oh gosh, let me see. Oh, okay, I can't talk about that one.
yeah, you can. Go ahead. Talk about it. Is it recent or a while ago?
We can cut it out. Let's not use names.
Don't talk about anybody that we're all
Okay,
friends
okay.
with. If
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what it is.
No, just a customer interaction.
go ahead.
Craziness.
Go.
Oh, okay.
Did I tell him that off or something?
No, just
Well, what are you holding back?
it was crazy. It was busy. We kept going back. It was a lot to perfect everything, and
Oh yeah.
it was yeah.
Yeah, but that is not bad. Like I don't even mind you mentioning that because that's kind of the foundation of everything we believe in.
Okay.
In that nowadays, it's not like it was in the 70s, 80s, and even into the late 90s. The 80s things started to change a little bit. Into the mid to late 90s is that everybody just went back.
Mm-hmm.
If something was wrong in most businesses, you made one phone call, they put you on the phone with the right guy, and then they set up a time to come and look at it. They'd either bring the stuff to fix it or they would set a second time to come back and fix something that you didn't like. Nowadays, you make a phone call, press 5 for service, you get a message, you leave a message, and you never hear back. I worked for companies that's how it worked and got calls 3 months later from clients that I had worked with, and they never heard back. And it was a big corporate company. It's a great company, but things would slip through the cracks. That's one thing I'm going to tell you right now will not happen with Protivia. You've got multiple phone numbers. They all get answered. And if there's something you don't like, we come back and we make it right. I mean, Kev, you've been a big part of that. You see that,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Like we get, we don't get a ton of these phone calls,
Yeah.
but whenever they do, we take the time to like actually respond to them and make sure it gets, taken care of and addressed.
Yeah.
Because it's huge to us.
Yeah. So I can think of a client right now who we did a project and there were things wrong and they were very not wrong, but
Add-ons. There was add-ons.
well, no, this particular one, they were things that were done that we had to adjust stuff based on the way the project was. And because of it, there were things that you couldn't see, but that if you really sat there for 15 minutes and looked around, you could find some very, very small, minor things. And it was like the end of the world. And they were very easy fixes and stuff.
Yes.
And we did go back and make them right. But
like always.
yeah, but they weren't to the magnitude that this particular customer was bringing them to. So I and that is kind of what happens in construction.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you still got to go out of your way to make sure that the client is smiling about Protivia.
You do.
And there's many different ways that you can do that. And we go out of our way to make sure that happens. So
Definitely.
Tina, have you ever had to go on a job site with John to go get something fixed?
Yes, that same particular one I'm talking about. Yes, we have. And he was, he
what time did
listened.
we drive out there?
Oh my goodness. I think it was probably midnight.
And how far was the ride to get
Oh.
there?
Revere, I mean, probably an hour.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but he
think it's
took
over.
care of it. He had his crew out there and they took care of it. It was phenomenal.
Not at 12 o'clock, right?
It was late.
Yeah,
You
it
had the
was-
crew out there at 12 a.m.?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. I think he called you on our way there.
Yeah, you did call me.
Yeah. Everybody. We're up,
I was
everybody's
trying to
up.
go to sleep. I got a phone call from John.
Oh, yeah, but it got fixed. Yeah,
Yeah.
it needed to be
Yeah,
fixed.
so that's kind of the telltale sign of a good company. It's not so, and it's like life. Like there's issues.
Yeah.
There's gonna be issues, but we
nothing's perfect.
really come back and fix them. It's for real, you know.
Oh, yeah. That's
And to the detriment of profit, or work schedule. People end up getting pushed back a little bit because of some of this stuff, but the right thing's done.
yeah, it was.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So go ahead. You
Okay, so what's your favorite part about the job? Besides doing these
I
podcasts?
guarantee you that this is. I know the best part.
Okay.
Well, this is awesome that you're actually here doing this with me. So thank you.
I love doing it
But
with
being
you.
in the office and hanging out with everyone and listening to the chatter and
Camaraderie.
having lunch
Yeah.
and
I love that.
I like to do. I like to talk and get people fired up. So being able to do that here and there with everyone. Our Christmas parties are off the chain.
Oh, yeah.
They're definitely one of my favorite
This
parts
last
to
one
be
was
able
phenomenal.
to bless
Yeah.
the team and listen to all the talk and no, that's absolutely unequivocally the best part. And then all construction, every single person who does construction and has fallen in love with it, the other best part is looking back. And I don't mean looking back weeks ago. I mean at the end of each day before you get in your car, you can look back and see what you did for the day.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Like
so
going back-
awesome to watch something change. And I've kind of, what's really cool is me and Kev have been working together for 3 years now. And he's starting to bring some projects through really, really clean and good and awesome. And I know you've got to start to have that feeling.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing? Isn't that like something you can't get anywhere else?
Yeah, like you just to see the transformation of what it used to be to now what it is. Like it's like even the customers blown away sometimes. We just had this lady and like, we completely renovated her house and because she's selling it to her son. And she moved out for a month. She came back and she was like blown away by how clean it looks. She goes, "It doesn't feel like my house anymore."
That's the best.
It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's
good
so
feeling.
good.
When wouldn't you say it's the best part of this business?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also like the personality type where like I get like, hooked by the shiniest new thing.
Yeah.
So like whenever I see something shiny in construction, I'm like, oh, that looks awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. I
No, that's
love
awesome.
the before and after pictures. That is so fun. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they are cool. Yeah.
So cool.
and just taking pride in it too. Like I think just to be able to look at it and be like, we did that. That was us.
True.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is it's like I keep saying everything in life or being a follower of God or whatever is it has to get in your heart. If it doesn't, you're not going to bring a level of excellence or getting things done good, properly, and at a profit and all that until it's like in
Yeah.
here.
You have to love what you do.
I remember, and I first started to kind of understand that concept because I went through building hundreds of houses. I know we've done, new construction houses, hundreds. And I didn't understand that in your heart thing until I worked at this big company and they'd take us out for a trip every winter or every third winter or whatever it was. And that one of the the big GMs, like third from the top, met us out there the first morning we got there, and he's like, how'd you sleep? Everything. Wait till you see this. You're gonna be blown away. We're gonna get it in your heart. And I was like, oh wow, yeah, that's what this is all about. And then that's kind of really cool with what's going on here
Oh,
right
yeah.
now. We're not having the huge year as far as uh, well, we're doing good with sales. We're starting to really pick up, which this is the time of year it happens. But we're also like Kevin's taken a real big lead in running this thing leaner and meaner. And
He's really
that
grown.
and that really started 3 months ago, maybe even 4 months ago, I can't remember, when he brought on Chris, who has just really brought our productivity as far as leads and advertising to a level
Oh, yeah.
that I've heard about with other companies or I've seen online. But to see us starting to crop up everywhere, it's really fun.
Oh, yeah. I remember
And
when Kevin was in our basement working.
Yeah.
In our living room.
Yeah.
And now we have our own office and it's
Yeah.
growing. Yeah. Now we
Yeah.
have 5 or 6 people in the office and you have a few crews. This
It's
has been phenomenal.
it's exciting, yeah,
Yes.
and to be able to hang around it and kind of grasp the fever, I guess, if you will. It's there's nothing like it. I think anyone who has a business and they starting to hit the point where we're hitting right now, you can't do nothing but smile and have fun. So
So true.
Yeah.
Next question. In your opinion, what are some skill sets that you must have to be successful in construction?
oh boy, I feel like I just said it all. All right, so let me kind of dial it into construction. Is an eye for change, meaning one thing that doesn't change is things will always change. But I don't just mean in that as far as like running the business, but change in, I don't want to say fix, I want to say change, because there's millions of ways to do different things, and to be able to see a final product before it happens and see little nuances that you need to handle so that when it's done people look at it and say, wow, that's a great product.
It's a great
um
feeling.
Starting to actually see that. And then, you know what a big thing is, and once again our team's getting really good at it, is scheduling, is to really start to tighten up schedules. It not only is that great for clients, but for the company. In
Keeping you organized is a good thing.
Yeah,
Okay, next question. Even after years and years of experience, you still run into unforeseen issues on jobs.
yeah, every construction company. I know I have three friends. Two of them aren't owners of businesses. One of them is an owner of a business. I have a cousin who owns a construction business, and one thing that never fails is there'll always be little nuances that you know what I mean. You
Like with
gotta.
any job. Right. Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
it's the
Part
way
of
the
life.
world is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next question. Final question. What does your ideal customer look like?
She or he is. I don't know if there's an ideal customer, but it's so nice when someone knows exactly what they want,
Oh, yeah, I bet.
because
You could be thinking one
on
thing and
your
they could be thinking one thing, but when you know and you guys mesh and comes together, that's the best.
and I always have opinions,
Mm.
but sometimes it's not the right opinion for that particular
Right,
client.
right.
So when
Important
they
to listen
kind
to
of done
customers.
some research and they kind of know what they want, that's helpful. And but someone who also is open to listening to other opinions that could help the project
Definitely.
in a few different ways. Whether they say yes or no, at least they're open to hear it. because there's always something out there that they don't know, or maybe I don't know
Right.
about them.
So an
And when
open-minded customer is fantastic.
it's
Yeah.
like a marriage. It's communication. You know what I mean? As long
Communication
as
is
we can
key.
talk.
Yes, yes.
And that's what I've been hoping that you could work on. No, I'm kidding. no, no, it's like any relationship, and that's what it is. You walk into a new house. First thing you do is you get to know the people a little bit, as quick as you can, and then throughout the whole process, you're learning more about them, more about their family, more about their work, more about their schedule. And it's just maintaining good communication so everybody's aware.
I definitely agree with that.
Even when something's not exciting to tell a client, you still got to go over it with them and talk to them about it, because there's a lot of different ways, like I said, to make things, to rectify situations that they may think they have that they don't, or maybe it is something that we need to come together and figure out. So, and with pricing and making quotes, that if you do hit a wall where
That's a big one.
you can't see what could be going on inside. I can think of a project just recently I put on in bold print at the bottom of the contract. Very high probability the price will go up, and I had already said it about 10 times to the people.
Very
and they're
important.
very aware of it.
Yeah.
I just met with them yesterday. Awesome people. But there's no way to be able to tell until we
That's
open it up.
Great communication skills.
I have a couple questions for you.
Oh, goodness. Oh.
So,
Talk about flip the script. Okay, I wasn't prepared for this.
so
All right.
as a wife of a contractor, I think Kevin asked something similar, but as the wife of a contractor, what would you say is the most exciting part to that?
Well, like Kevin had said, seeing the before and after, I love that. That's
Yeah.
so exciting. I love taking pictures, showing people, and then showing them the after. I love showing new clients those pictures and talking about it. That's why I love watching HGTV. It's so inspirational.
Okay. So now, but I mean, like, not nuts and bolts of the construction part that I'm doing, but just being my wife and being part of our family team. That's a construction family. Something a little deeper.
Okay.
Is it stressful at times?
It can be stressful at times. You're right. Yeah.
What's the most stressful?
When Jay is stressed, I am stressed when he comes home and things aren't working out and it's not flowing nicely like it should. When we're getting calls 12 o'clock at midnight and we have to drive out to a job and I'll have to drive him because he doesn't want to fall asleep on the road. What else is stressful? Making sure everybody is happy and doing their job, and what else can be stressful? Customers yelling at him can be stressful. Not that that happens very often, but once in a while it happens. Overall, I think you
What are
Yes,
some of the
stress,
most what are some of the most rewarding things as being married to a contractor?
when he's happy, I'm happy. I like to see how happy he is when he completes a job and everything went smoothly. Being happy and having extra time when he finishes a job ahead of time and being able to spend time with the family and going out, and we love going to the beach and just relaxing. Finally can relax.
Yeah. Now, Tina, so like being married to a contractor, I'm assuming everything gets fixed in the house.
No, actually, no, it doesn't. As crazy as that is, no, it doesn't always get fixed unless we are moving. That's when it gets fixed.
That's true.
So you're telling me John isn't really a handyman?
Not really in the house. I mean, he can build a whole house, but in our house, no. I asked him to do something. No, until we're moving. Then he's like, okay, now I'll fix that baseboard. Okay, now I'll paint that little area. Okay, that knob, that cabinet needs to be fixed. Okay, I can do that. Lickety split. I'm like, why didn't you do that last year?
It's like that's funny. My father used to talk about it too. Is that the contractor's house is the last one that ever gets fixed?
It's true.
And I think that would be electricians, plumbers, all of them. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So a couple more questions we had for you. Let's see, I'm gonna pull them up. So, what was the deciding factor for starting a business versus working for a different company?
So I've owned a business.
Flexibility. It's
Yeah.
having your own business.
But I've owned one for a long
Yeah.
time. Even though I worked for a bigger company, I still built a few houses throughout that whole time, and actually did a couple of renovations. So way back when I made the change, there is some, like, I never missed one of I think I missed one of Olivia's volleyball games, so that was pretty awesome. But I like to
That's our
lead,
daughter,
and I
Olivia.
like to get people pumped up. So I've always enjoyed that part of owning a business, is to get the teams fired
Oh,
up
yeah.
and
And
ready
you were
to
able
go.
to coach. I guess you had the
I did
flexibility of
coach
having
her.
your
Yep.
own business.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. That was really awesome. That was so fun.
so
actually.
fun. Yeah.
One of my
She
greatest
loved
memories
it.
of
It
her
really
childhood.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, really was great.
So I suppose it's the time with the family. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, so John, you were working with a different company, but you were also doing this on the side. So what made you decide to pull the trigger on making the transition to going full time with the construction business?
Well, I know I keep mentioning this, but it actually was a God thing in that there was a service at church about stretching. And so actually, that's what got me to actually start to, after about 2 years, to start to build and do renovations again. It was about stretching. You know, if everything's perfect and on point and you don't have any stress and there's nothing big going on, you can get home and just relax. Are you really stretching? Are you really going to a new level? And so that's what got me to start doing construction while I had that job. And then what happened that I made the switch to just go and start doing just this is because I was starting to have a level of guilt in that I wasn't able to. It was a house divided. I wasn't able to give both things the attention that one of them needed. I was trying to stretch my time between two things, and I was at a position financially where I felt I could make the move and go for it, and and once again, that was what it wasn't without prayer and asking the Lord and making sure I was on point with it. But that's pretty much what brought me to the point, is that I was a house divided and I needed to get steady on one thing. Is there any more questions?
I think it's pretty good.
So that concludes episode 7, Built Different podcast, with a Britivia construction theme. We have the host and the guest here, which I've changed seats. And once again, it's been a lot of fun. And I want to ask everybody, thank you so much, or I want to say thank you so much for being here still and watching this to the end. Can you comment, like, or share? We love comments. We've actually developed podcasts based on them. And
Or heart it, Britivia.
yeah, or Heart the Britivia. What else? Anything else?
Nope. Thumbs up is good.
Yeah. So thank you very much. And once again, this is the end of episode 7.